Here we go, exciting times. Hey there guys, it's Metro back with even more Shadowlands alpha coverage. We're doing it. Everything that's coming out, we're going to give our detailed opinions on so I could, have a better trace of how I'm feeling going into the expansion and obviously provide you guys with news and content that you guys are looking for. So let's take a look. We are here having a look at Covenant class and signature abilities. Now this is a topic that is obviously core to the expansion, like so important. And frankly, I don't know much about it, right? Like nobody really does. So let's take a look. This is a long post and there's a lot of reading. So I'm gonna try to give my detailed opinions. First time seeing any of these words. Love this image, by the way. Really makes me want to play Night Elf. I'm telling you, female Night Elf really growing on me, but let's put that aside for now. So, 4 ruling powers control the Shadowlands, each of which is in desperate need of aid from the heroes of Azeroth. That's me. That's you too also. In exchange for your help, the Covenants are willing to share a piece of their power and access to the rewards and other blessings, boons, or temptations they have to offer. As you level up on your initial journey through each of their domains, you will get to experience the abilities they have to offer firsthand before you ultimately choose the Covenant you wish to dedicate yourself to. So a little RP, little narrative voice here, but it's fine. So now we got those 4 options, right? They talked a lot about at BlizzCon. We'll go over it again here. Kyrians, I believe. Kyrians, the denizens of Bastion. These angelic beings embrace humility and service to their order. These creatures became like a very, if you've seen, I assume this is the owl dudes. A lot of people in my guild were freaking out about it. I think some of them still are. So anyway, Necrolords, comprised of liches, warlords, and spies. The Necrolord Covenant calls Maldraxxus home. They make up the army that defends the Shadowlands. So that's the Scourge that was talked about at BlizzCon. They said like these are the mobs, or these are like the creatures that would comprise what we know as the Scourge, right? So it's interesting how they're tying that together. Night Fae, guardians of nature. The Night Fae inhabit Ardenweald and shepherd beings through cycle of life and death. It was through their aid that the demigod Cenarius was able to make his return to Azeroth during the events of Cataclysm, which I know not a thing about. Cenarius is one of my favorite characters in the lore, and I know nothing about how he returned, so this is very interesting. I might have to look into this. Venthyr, making their home in Revendreth. The vampiric Venthyr are the punishers of the unworthy, seeking to rehabilitate the sinful souls sent to them by the Arbiter. So that's the vampires. A lot of people are really in love with it. Castlevania look almost. It's very interesting. The 4 things are very interesting. When the time comes to ally with one of these 4s, you'll want to carefully consider the abilities the Covenant will provide you. Each provides 2 abilities tailored to the theme of the Covenant. The first of these is the Covenant's signature ability, which is available to all Covenant members regardless of class, race, or specialization. This ability helps you explore and engage with the world in new ways and gives you a unique tool to help you solve the problems you encounter in Shadowlands. So those are like the movement, right? There's all these movement ones. We looked at it at BlizzCon, all these movement ones. The second of these abilities is specific to your class and gives you a new spell or power to use in combat, so that's cool. To give you an idea of what to expect, we put together a list of the Covenant's signature abilities and class abilities. Please keep in mind that these are a work in progress and may have additional changes during the course of development and testing, so all abilities shown here are subject to change. Obviously, it's the alpha for a reason, guys. I'm surprised they're even publishing this. This is really aggressive, honestly. So let's take a look. We're gonna look first at the signature ability. This is that no matter what race, class, sexual preference, no matter what, doesn't matter what you're into, you're gonna get this ability. Okay, so Kyrian, call your steward to bring you a phial of serenity that can be consumed to restore some of your health and remove all curse, disease, poison, and bleed effects. Your steward additionally offers access to a selection of useful amenities, each once per day. So these are different. I mean, I don't remember hearing about this at BlizzCon. Was this stuff talked about at BlizzCon? I don't think so, because I thought, yeah, the other ones are more like movement based, just a quick read of them. That is very interesting. That can be consumed to restore some of your health and remove all. That's pretty powerful. I mean, that could be really good for Mythic Plus. Anyway, Door of Shadows. Wend through the shadows, appearing at the target location. Okay. That's the one that I talked about, me and Cop talked about, and I said that would probably be the sexy pick, but I didn't think I would enjoy it. Necrolord, Fleshcraft. From a shield of flesh and bone, or form a shield of flesh and bone that prevents damage equal to a portion of your maximum health. Standing near the corpse of a defeated enemy when the ability is cast will create a larger shield. Sounds pretty good for Blood Death Knight. Might have to go with that one. A lot of health, guys. I got a lot of that. Anyway, Soul Shape. Maybe it's going to be different. Who knows? Soul Shape. Turn into a Vulpin, increasing movement speed. You may reactivate Soul Shape to teleport a short distance forward. Additional cosmetic forms can be earned and collected through a variety of gameplay. While out in the world, this effect is a short duration before it wears off, but lasts indefinitely while in a rested area. So that is really a very interesting one, like a very attractive one, almost, right? Like, it's already talking about cosmetic forms. Like, this is insane. But out of the gate, as a Blood DK, Fleshcraft seems like the obvious pick, right? I mean, it's not even really close. So anyway, let's see. Aligning with a specific covenant provides access to class abilities. Look at that. That's pretty nice. So, access to class abilities that provide additional combat-oriented gameplay options that are tailored to the theme of that covenant. Every covenant offers ability for each class, but note that some covenant class abilities are still in development and are not currently represented in this chart. Okay, so let's get to it. Maybe this is what I was thinking of. Oh, can we start with the best class? I don't even want to, you know what, let's do DK last, because I don't want to start with the best class. It's not fair to the other classes. So we'll start with the second best class. Demon Hunter. Elysian Decree. And then real quick, Kyrian, Venthyr, Necrolord, and Night Fae in this order. So that's Owl Dudes, the Vampires, Scourge, and people who like to be dressed up as animals and stuff. Okay. Carve runes into the ground in front of you, which detonate to deal arcane damage and shatter lesser soul fragments from enemies. Now, before we say anything here, a lot of these are going to depend heavily on how powerful they are numerically, okay? But hopefully, like, this is the problem I always have when I talk about this stuff. I give my thoughts on things that are irrelevant. Like, the numerical element is irrelevant. I don't care about that, because that could be changed dozens and dozens of times before it's finished, right? That's not what I'm talking about whenever I say something is strong or not strong or interesting. I'm talking about, in theory, what the upside and downside of this could look like in reality, okay? So, carve runes in the ground in front of you, which detonate to deal arcane damage and shatter lesser soul fragments from enemies. That sounds like that could be pretty good for 5-man dungeons, right? The more self-healing you get, the better. The more AoE damage you do. Thanks a lot, Windows. Generally, the better, okay? But we don't know what the numerical value is, so that's going to depend a lot on that. And also, it's going to depend how many soul fragments you get. Sinful Brand, this is the vampire one. Brand an enemy with the mark of the Venthyr, reducing their melee and casting speed and inflicting shadow damage over time. Activating Metamorphosis, apply Sinful Brand to all nearby enemies. That's gonna be the one, right? Come on, that's so cool. I love Metamorphosis. It's one of the most interesting spells in the game. It has so many upsides. It's so cool. It changes your character. It's so freaking cool. I love this spell, and I love this idea. The third one is the Scourge one. That's a work in progress. I don't really know how I feel about that one. I don't really like working, and I certainly don't like making progress either. So I'd probably avoid that one. The Hunt is the furry people one. Charge to an enemy, inflicting nature damage and rooting them. The target is marked for a period of time, increasing your fury from Demon's Bite and sheer against them. Wait, what? You may reactivate the Hunt every 30 seconds to teleport behind the marked target and ignore line of sight. Huh. That one feels very focused on doing damage. You definitely aren't, I mean, unless they completely change Demon Hunter. Fury, both specs really, but Fury is Vengeance. What do you think? Jix, what do you think? Fury, sheer against, I don't know. That one doesn't sound attractive to me at all. But again, numerics might change that. Obviously, we don't even know all three of them. But out of the gate, the second one, Sinful Brand, that sounds like the most fun. Reducing their melee and casting speeds is like, that's utility, okay? The first one is, there's just damage and self-healing. The second one is utility. You reducing the casting speeds and inflicting damage over time is like the ideal situation, right? It'll depend on how much it reduces these things, but like, there's mobs that do not cast on the tank. So being able to reduce the casting speed of those mobs can be insanely valuable, especially considering how much access we have to Metamorphosis. Obviously, that's going to change in 9.0, but it still might be a trend. So anyway, let's move on. Druid. kindred spirits. Form a bond with an ally. On a cooldown, you may empower the bond for a period of time, granting you an effect based on your partner's role and granting them an effect based on your role. I'm switching to Druid, guys. This is so cool. This is symbiosis. It's such a great idea, and I'm surprised it's coming from the Kyrian one, right? That seemed like maybe the Fey one, but it sounds like it's symbiosis, which is one of my favorite spells ever. Very unique spell. Ravenous Frenzy. For a period of time, Druid spells you cast increase your damage, healing, and haste by a percentage stacking. If you spend a period of time idle, the frenzy overcomes you, consuming a percent of your health per stack, stunning you, and then ending. What? What's this, corruption? What the hell is this? Who wants that? Nobody wants that. I don't get that. A period of time. I don't get that. I must be misunderstanding it. Are they saying it must be like it's a usable spell? It's not like a passive, right? It's not like, oh, well, we're in an intermission now and I'm getting stunned and taking damage because I can't attack anything. I guess it depends on how it's used and how much it increases things. But that one does not sound interesting to me at all. Command a swarm that heals or deals shadow damage to a target and increases the effectiveness of your periodic effects on them. Upon expiration, travels to a new target within range, alternating between friend and foe up to a set number of time. That's an interesting one, but it sounds very boring. Like, very boring. Like, purely like the numerical value will be the only reason anybody will consider that. But I guess if it heals friends, that could be very good. The problem is, like, you have this as bear and you have this as resto, so like it's definitely better for non-resto, right? Healing friends is always going to be more valuable from a non-healing role when that's your job anyway, in my opinion. Convoke the spirits. Call upon the Night Fae for an eruption of energy, channeling a rapid flurry of 16 Druid spells and abilities over 4 seconds. What? You will cast Moonfire, Wrath, Regrowth, Rejuvenation, Thrash, Rake, Shred, and Iron Fur on an appropriate nearby target, favoring your current specialization. What the actual... Huh? That's bizarre. That's very weird. Are they all going to be weird? I didn't sign up to read. I'm going to end it, guys. Thanks for watching. I don't read weird shit. No, that is really weird. You cast spells on random targets. Okay. I mean, that could be insane. Iron Fur, like, how does that even work? I have to see it in action. That sounds so crazy. It's going to be insane if that... Oh, man, I don't even know. Let's keep moving. So, Druid's got some interesting ones. Ravenous Frenzy is very odd. I don't understand. I'd have to see it, I guess. This and the Convoke Spirits, I'd have to see it. But this, I think, easily Kindred Spirits. If it was no small decision, I would take this every day of the week. Hunter, Resonating Arrow. Fire a Resonating Arrow to the target location and fill the area with Echoing Anima. This effect causes your attacks to ignore line of sight to the enemies in the area, and you have an increased critical strike chance against them. Ignore line of sight. That's pretty powerful. That's a very powerful thing. Fire a resonating arrow to the target location and fill the area with echoing anima. So it makes me wonder what the range on this is, right? If the range on it is like 30 yards, it's not that special. The range on it is 100 yards. Now we're talking about ignoring line of sight in a different way, right? But if the range on it is 30 yards and the only line of sight that would happen is you moving into a stupid position, I mean, that's not very good. Very interesting in premise, but critical strike chance might end up being the big thing. Fire a shot at Flayed Shot. Fire a shot at your enemies, causing them to bleed shadow damage over a period of time. Each time Flayed Shot deals damage, you have a chance to gain Flayer's Mark, causing your next kill shot to be usable on any target regardless of their current health. So they are bringing kill shot back. Not the wrap thing, but yeah, the ability. So, I mean, that's kind of boring too, right? Very boring compared to, say, the Druid one. But it could be very powerful. Kill shot, depending on how strong that is. Throws a deadly chakaram at your current target, which will rapidly deal additional shadow damage. Each time the chakaram damages a different target, its damage is increased, and you generate additional focus. Cha-ching, 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 cha-ching. Anything that is good for AoE, but decent in single target is always the pick. Because everywhere but raids, and frankly even in raids, there's always multiple targets. You always want to have things like this, because the more targets you have, the better you get, and that is a very important thing in World of Warcraft in 2020. So that one seems like the option to me. Again, we don't see the fourth option. Work in progress. we've already spoken on that. So let's move on. Mage. Now, I don't really play these specs and classes, so I'm going to comment more on Bear, etc. I don't really play these specs, but we'll read them anyway. Mage. Radiant Spark. Conjures a radiant spark that causes arcane damage instantly and additional damage over time. The target takes a percentage of increased damage from your direct damage spells, stacking each time they are struck. This effect ends after a number of spells. That sounds like that would be extremely powerful for the way Mage plays right now, right? Both Fire and Arcane are all about popping off in a small window, and this makes that even better. So it's almost like they're hammering home, brink, 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 hammering home, Mage being like this massive burst window class. And maybe that's a good thing. Mirrors of Torment. Conjure mirrors to torment the enemy for a time. Whenever the target casts a spell or ability, a mirror is consumed to inflict shadow damage, and their movement and cast speed are slowed. The final mirror will instead inflict shadow damage to the enemy, rooting and silencing them for some time. A mirror is consumed to inflict shadow damage, and their movement speed is cast. That's like, I don't know. I don't think mages want utility, right? Like, honestly, let's be serious here. You go on Mage Syndrome, you go on Radiant Spark so far. So that one sounds funny. It's interesting. Movement speed and cast speed are slowed. But frankly, I don't think a lot of people would want that. A Deathborn. Transform into a powerful skeletal mage for a period of time. While in the form of a skeletal mage, your Frostbolt, Firebolt, and Arcane are greatly enhanced, and your spell damage is increased. I like being a skeleton mage. I think I picked that one. Deathborn, thank you. I'm picking all the undead ones. I don't really want to pick that. But they're all the coolest ones so far. Anyway, Shifting Power. Draw from the ground beneath you for a period of time, dealing nature damage over time to nearby enemies. While channeling your ability, cooldowns are reduced. Interesting. It doesn't seem dealing nature damage over time to nearby enemies. See that? I don't want to see that. As a ranged DPS, I don't want to see nearby enemies. I don't like that at all. As a tank, I don't want to see that, because that means you got more people who shouldn't be in melee. But reduced cooldowns, I mean, how reduced, right? So that's an interesting one. Right now, Deathborn seems like the one that sticks out to me. Monk. As the spec is a work in progress, so are the abilities. Anyway, Weapons of Order. For a short duration, your mastery is increased by a percentage. In addition, Windwalker's Rising Sun Kick cooldown is reset instantly, and your Rising Sun Kick reduces the cost of your Chai abilities. Brewmaster's Keg Smash cooldown is reset, and the enemies hit by Keg Smash take increasing damage from you. Stacks up to a set amount. Mistweaver's Essence Font cooldown is reset instantly and heals nearby allies on channel start and end. So obviously we can't comment on this because that's the only one. And that one I don't like. I don't even think that would be fun to use. It sounds powerful, but I cannot stand these abilities where it's like, okay, rotational ability, then big CD, then more rotational abilities. I can't stand that. As a DK and as a lot of classes, I like just using my CDs and then making me more powerful, even if they customize the way I play a little bit, but not like CD, then reset that CD and then do things more. I don't like that at all. So Monk, yeah, not looking like a class I'm going to enjoy, but we'll have to see what the other ones are. Paladin. Oh, unfortunately, we only get 2 for Paladin. Instantly cast Holy Shock, Avenger's Shield, or Judgment on several targets within range, based on your current specialization. Does that mean that Glimmer is staying? Probably not. But that's cool as hell. If that was in the game right now, that would be insane. Anyway, Ashen Hallow. Halo? Ashen Halo? Hallow. Hollow. Hallow? Anyway, Hallow, what the hell is that? What does that word even mean? I have to look it up. Honor as holy. Oh, okay. Not what I expected. Halo, the target area, dealing shadow damage split among enemies and restoring health split among injured allies over time. The land remains filled with anima, causing additional shadow damage to all enemies. You gain the benefit of consecration while within that area. Oh. So does that mean Holy Pally? Well, first of all, does that mean Rep Pally is getting Consecrate baseline? I guess that means everybody's getting Consecrate baseline, first of all. And then second of all, does that mean Holy and Red are getting benefits from Consecration? Because right now, the only spec out of those 3 that benefit from being in Consecrate is Prot Paladin. So it's interesting. Restoring health split among injured allies over time is interesting. But there's only 2, and right now Divine Toll seems like the absolute... Like, given how Holy Paladin plays right now, and frankly, even given how Prot Paladin plays right now, really all 3 of those would be powerful right now, so yeah. Okay, Priest, we got 3. Boon of the Ascended. Gain the Boon of the Ascended, granting access to Ascended Nova and Ascended Blast, and increasing your movement speed both Both abilities damage your enemies, heal your allies, and build power that will erupt in a powerful explosion of damage and healing at the end of the Boon of Ascension's duration. Huh. How long? It's the question, right? How long does it last? Interesting concept, but we don't know enough about it. Assault an enemy's mind, dealing shadow damage and briefly reversing their perception of reality. Oh. For a period of time, the next damage they deal will heal their target, and the next healing they do will damage their target. What the fuck? That seems really weird. Because it's very easily played around in PvP. And in PvE... God damn, that could be like exceedingly powerful in PvE. Think about this. If there was a mob that healed itself for a percentage of its health, and you put this on them and let them heal, would they kill themselves? Wow. I don't think it would work that way, but very interesting. Anyway, Unholy Nova. An explosion of dark energy heals nearby allies and affects nearby enemies with Unholy Transfusion. Unholy Transfusion deals shadow damage over time. Enemies who damage this target receive healing. Depends, again, on how much shadow damage over time we're talking. But that does seem like that could be very, very good for raids or 5-man. I mean, 5-man's like, you put this and hit 6 mobs with it, and now all of a sudden the tank is being healed instead of taking damage. That's very powerful. Again, yo, these Scourge ones are really powerful. Rogue. Echoing Reprimand. Deal arcane damage to an enemy, extracting their anime, extracting their anime to anima charge a combo point. Damaging finishing moves that consume the same number of your combo points as your anima charge deal damage as if they consume 7 combo points. What the fuck? That's complicated. Depends on the CD, right? That could be terrible or it could be extremely good based on the CD. Slaughter. Slaughter the target, causing physical damage. Oh yeah, you think? The target's anima mixes with your lethal poison, coating your weapons for the next 5 minutes. Slaughter poison deals shadow damage over time and steals a percentage of healing done to the target. This also awards combo points. This sounds like a PvP spell. What are you talking about? Steals a percentage of healing done to the target. What the hell does that mean? I like the idea of coating your weapons with something. That sounds fun. Serrated Bone Spike. Embed a bone spike in the target, dealing physical damage over time until they die. No. Attacking with serrated bone spike causes all of your active bone spikes to fracture and strike your current target, increasing the initial damage by a percentage per spike. What? I must be missing something? Reading it again. Embed a bone spike in a target, dealing physical damage over time until they die. So that seems like the active. And then attacking with serrated bone spike. So presumably the target who has the bone spike embedded in them causes all of your active bone spikes to fracture and strike your current target, increasing initial damage by a percentage per spike. So what is this, like a really, really, really short CD or something? Maybe it's like a 5-second CD or something? But this whole damage over time until they die thing is overly complicated in this game and should not be added. Frankly, it sounds cool, but it should not be added because it allows ridiculous things to happen where like you could like somehow get in a position where you could solo something that should not ever be possible to solo. So I don't like the idea. I don't even want to hear about that because that is it's open for abuse. Okay, we got Shaman, we still got Warlock and Warrior. Okay, so Shaman. Vesper Totem. Summon a totem at the target location for 30 seconds. Your next 3 damaging spells or abilities will cause the totem to radiate arcane damage to enemies near the totem. And your next 3 healing spells will heal up to 6 allies near the totem. Casting this ability again while the totem is active will relocate the totem. So is this just like a no CD spell and you can just have this down 100% of the time, or? No, obviously not, for 30 seconds. So what's the CD of it? I'm all for totems, guys. I love totems. Chain Harvest. Send a wave of anime at the target, which then jumps to additional nearby targets. Deals shadow damage to enemies and restores health to allies. For each target critically struck, the cooldown of Chain Harvest is reduced. Okay, interesting. So when it says jumps to additional nearby targets, does that mean it could jump to It can go from ally, enemy, ally, ally, enemy, enemy, something like that. Or can it only go to enemies if you choose enemies? What does it mean by critically struck? Does that actually mean if you dealt a critical hit, the cooldown of the CD is reduced? That one sounds quite powerful, just because I'm sure it's going to be overpowered in 5-mans. If you went back all the way, Shaman was overpowered because Chain Lightning was so broken in MoP and stuff. Anyway, Warlock, there's only 3 for this one, and there's not 3 for the next one only. Warlock, Scouring Tithe, and a Tithe, I don't know. Deal arcane damage instantly and additional arcane damage over time. If the enemy dies while affected by Scouring Tithe, you generate additional soul shards. If they survive, Scouring Tithe's cooldown is refreshed. Sounds like a good thing. I've been playing a lot of Warlock. Impending Catastrophe calls forth the cloud of chaotic anima that travels to the target enemy, dealing shadow damage to the enemies within their path. When the anima reaches the target, it explodes, inflicting a random curse and dealing shadow damage to all nearby enemies. Okay. That's interesting. Sounds like it'd be good for 5-mans. Decimating Bolt hurls a bolt of shadow magic at your target, dealing shadow damage and increasing the damage of your next Incinerate, Drain Soul, or Shadow Bolts. Decimation bolts damage and the bonus to Incinerate, blah, 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 increase as your target's health decreases. Oh, now that's what they need. I've always liked Warlocks having Execute. I always felt like they were very, like, it made sense for Warlocks to have an Execute. So again, the Scourge one sounded pretty attractive, but I don't really play Warlock, honestly. Okay, Warrior. Spear of Bastion. This is the one that we kind of got we talked about something like this, and it's now in the game, so that's great. Spear of Bastion. Throw a Kyrian spear at the target location, dealing arcane instantly, dealing additional damage over time, and generating rage. Enemies hit are tethered to Spear of Bastion's location for the duration. Exactly what we described. Although I suggested that the spear kind of drag mobs towards you, because I suggested that Death Grip was one of the most powerful spells in the game under the right situation, and there's other warrior type abilities in other games that you throw it and it kind of pulls them, so I like that idea. But very similar, they're rooted instead, so it's very interesting. Okay, Condemn replaces Execute. Condemn a foe to suffer for their sins, causing shadow damage, only usable on enemies who are above 80 or below 20. Primary target is weakened, preventing a moderate amount of damage they would deal to you. If your foe survives, a portion of rage spent is refunded. Huh. It's a very complicated spell. A lot of these are so complicated, man. I worry about this system. We'll talk about it. Conqueror's Banner. Brandish the banner of the Necrolords, increasing your movement speed, causing Mortal Strike, Raging Blow, and Shield Slam to grant you glory. Killing an enemy grants an additional stack of glory. Reactivating this ability plants the banner in the ground, granting an increased amount of maximum health and additional attack speed to you and your allies within range of the banner. Lasts additional time per glory up to a maximum amount. That's so complicated. Okay. Put a banner down, increasing your movement speed and causing blah 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 to grant you glory. How long does it last? We need to know that. Killing an enemy grants additional stack of glory. Okay, so obviously in world content and small group, like low health AoE, it's going to be very, very powerful. Reactivating this ability plants the banner in the ground, granting an increased amount of maximum health and additional attack speed to you and your allies within range of the banner. I don't understand it. These are very complicated, honestly. Some of these are extremely complicated. We look forward to sharing more information as development continues, and we hope this preview helps you find the covenant that's right for you. Which covenant is your current choice? Yeah, I don't know yet, because we haven't looked at the Death Knight. Let's go up and look. I'm almost scared to look at these, but let's look at them. We have all 4. Is this the only class with all 4? No, Druid had all 4. Couple had all 4. Okay, guys, here we go. Death Knight. Shackle the unworthy. Admonish your target for their past transgressions, reducing the damage they deal to you and dealing arcane damage over time. Shackle the unworthy's cooldown is reduced when you damage the affected enemy with a rune spending attack. Interesting. Okay. So, we need to know the CD, because that could either be ridiculous or terrible. Swarming Mists. A heavy mist surrounds you, increasing your chance to dodge. Deals shadow damage over time to enemies within range. Every time it deals damage, you gain additional runic power up to a maximum amount. Well, that's good for 5-mans, I guess. CD on the pole would be nice. one of the biggest problems for Blood DK repeatedly. Abomination's Limb. Sprouts an additional limb for a limited time, dealing shadow damage to nearby enemies. If an enemy is farther away from you, they are pulled to your location. Okay, well, we got to know how far to nearby enemies. If an enemy is farther away, we got to know more about that before we can say if that's good or not. But I'll have to tell you this. That sounds pretty strong. Yeah, I mean, it depends on the values. Death's Due. Replaces death and decay. Uh-oh. Scary. Corrupts the targeted ground. Because this is gone. Like, once you replace D&D, that's for the whole expansion that's gone, right? Corrupts the targeted ground, causing shadow damage over a duration of time to targets within the area. Affected enemies deal reduced damage to you, up to a maximum amount, and their power is transferred to you as an equal amount of strength. While you remain within the area, your Necrotic Strike and Hard Strike will hit additional targets. That's just death and decay, yeah, okay. Okay, well that wasn't as exciting as I thought it was going to be. So basically, causing shadow damage, I mean, that's already what happens. Affected enemies deal reduced damage to you, and their power is transferred to you as equal amount of strength. These are all very good. I like all of them. And ultimately, I think that's a good thing. The fact that there's not one that stands out is probably a good thing. But if I had to pick one, I think this one is the one with the most upside. It's, again, even if it's undertuned, it's going to depend on how far away it grips mobs to you. Because this could actually be a bad thing. In fact, like, what happens if it grips something you don't want to be gripped towards you? Like on Necrotic. That could be very bad. So we'll see. But yeah, assumingly it's going to be an active ability that you're not going to use poorly. But yeah, this one might be the one that if I had it today, this one might be the one. Heavy mist surrounds you, increasing your chance to dodge. That would be very good for on the pull when you have no real mitigation up. And yeah, every time you deal damage with the... every time it deals damage, you gain additional runic power up to a maximum amount. That is, like, the big problem with Death Knight on the pull is if you have no runic power and have to build Bone Shield and survive, it's very consuming, like, time-wise, right? So, yeah, all of these are cool. I don't really like the Venthyr. I don't think I would pick that one. Like, unless all of them aren't balanced, I want to pick one that I like the most, like, aesthetically, but also one that's cool, like, to have the spells of. So right now, let's combine the spells. We said we really like Fleshcraft. So that's Necrolord, and we get Abomination Limb, sprout an additional limb from... I mean, this sounds like the Death Knight thing, right? Like, I want to be part of the Scourge anyway, so that's cool to have those abilities. But, you know, visually, I think Kyrian and Night Fae are really interesting. So I could see myself picking one of them. But, you know, Kyrian, that one doesn't seem very interesting to me, frankly. It's just, you know, it depends on the CD of it, I guess. Like, if you hit the target with rune spending attacks, I mean, how much does it actually reduce the CD on it? Because, frankly, that doesn't sound very good. But then Night Fae, that one interesting. Like, they're all interesting, I guess, is the long story short. So what do I think about these? I definitely am worried that this is going to be too defining, maybe is the right word. That, like, this is something that the game is going to regret putting in. We talked about this today in another thing, but you'll not hear about it for a long time. But I worry that they're going to go too permanent with some of this stuff. Like, this stuff is going to be too difficult to balance, and a mistake will be made too early in the expansion to be rectified. So I don't know what their plan is, but I could already see a lot of people complaining about this as it is, and I definitely worry about what the future might hold for a system like this, when you might have picked something that you regret picking. What changes? What happens? What can you do? But certainly... Oh, look at that. I didn't even look at this. That's the spear ability. Interesting. They look good, too. Another thing is going to be the visuals here. So hopefully we'll get to test some of that stuff out on the alpha, or we get to see it one way or the other. The Death Knight one are very interesting, and I'm interested in seeing how all of these things... Like, these ones are more interesting to me as Death Knight. Because this is really, really, really interesting. We'll have to see how it works. I'm very interested in seeing it. It'll be a long time before difficult content is in the game, but I'm very interested in seeing it. So, yeah, let me know what you think. Like I say, I am cautiously optimistic. I love the concept. I love the 4 different picks. Like, one of my favorite things about WoW right now and BFA in general is that you have a different, you can make a different playstyle out of some of these things, like essences and corruption and, you know, Azerite gear. You could make an entirely different Death Knight than somebody else. It could play very differently if you use certain things. So I like that a lot. I like that these abilities are trying to make that a bigger reality. I just worry that if you want to change that, what the cost or potentially benefit, you know, like what's real and what's not about changing. So we'll find that out in the future. Until then, this has been a nice little preview. I will be continuing to cover Shadowlands stuff at all costs. So hopefully you'll enjoy it. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know what you guys think are some of the cool abilities. Which class do you think gets the best out of this? Just based on thoughts. Obviously, we'll have to see animations and power of each spell. And a lot of these aren't even finished, like Monk. So thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.